Visit actproctors.org. News 10 ABC. Leading the way in breaking news coverage.
Officially. Finance, you want to sign fair finance, that's what you asked for. I'm not chair yet. Well,
Yeah.
I'm on the finance committee, which hasn't met yet.
You have to be.
I can't see who's there.
You have the
Right, you
training.
know, it's just Chris Phil's.
I'm okay not being chair. He needs to be chair.
Sure.
Yeah, well, you want it? You want it?
Oh,
Okay. then just-
I'm just saying, I mean, I need to know who's here.
For you? Chris, still on the drama, please.
No,
$2,000
absolutely not.
monthly rental payment. Seem to be over. What are these? What am I signing? I don't even know what I'm signing. Hey, you can ask
First
questions.
time before.
Oh, God. See, it's so old. $600 to what? James? Oh, boy, here, I think you're getting it all.
You need to change that chair for,
No, it's good, it should go. I have found mistakes. Ryan found a mistake once, I found a mistake once. Where am I signing, finance committee? Just underneath mine, doesn't matter.
I used to have to get checks signed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a minor question.
some people just
For
sign
the
it
meeting or for fun?
and then, oh, yeah, first,
I got my
She would check
check
that.
for the,
and I was trying to get more in the sign.
that hasn't appeared on the bills yet.
Because I know.
Yeah, good.
No, I think it's appeared, but I don't.
Mine was last week.
I don't think mine
Doing their
appeared,
job.
because I was late,
I saw something, I know I saw it because yours was a little bit higher for some reason.
because I'm not newcomer.
Right. Okay, so I think it was there.
It was there.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but I haven't seen that.
You just see it.
why Margaret higher? Why is the other one is
I
higher?
thought it was just kind of first time.
When the excitement
Oh,
starts,
then,
Because I-
we
it's not my-
that would
maybe you went to this.
I think
Um,
we're gonna have to take a trip to Seattle.
My question was, like,
Fair enough.
I'll go back and check and see if it's in the list. But those things are very low amounts. They don't have to be voted on before they're dispersed, right?
They do. That's in the journal
Let
bills.
me check on.
Yeah,
that.
look at the monthly bills for last month. I'm sure it's there.
Okay, I'll look. I'm looking.
Right, because you wouldn't have gotten it issued if then, didn't it?
Yeah, that was I was surprised when I saw it, because I hadn't seen it in the bills. I didn't expect it until next week.
Okay, we seem to be short a couple, but we'll go ahead. 6:03.
Go right ahead.
So Margaret, you're there for 3:15.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
I was, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know where the place, yeah, mess.
Yeah, State Trooper died. Copies of draft minutes of February, this is the informal meeting for March 11th, 2024. Copies of draft minutes for the February 20th and February 28th meetings have been posted on the city website, as have copies of committee reports. We have a number of communications. 3 of them are in support of Big Tower.
I didn't join the room.
You have to turn off your.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay. And the police reports. Before we get to department reports, Del Tulo, she's somewhere here, is finally gonna be able to talk to us and answer questions. And tell us what she does, what she doesn't do. I don't know.
Hello, many of you know me, but for those who don't know me, I'm Michelle. So I'm in the mayor's office. So my position works on, housing initiatives that increase, kind of fighting some displacement and increasing housing affordability for everybody in the city. I'm a certified urban planner, in this position almost 3 years. So, quickly, just wanted to tell you about some of the initiatives that we're working on. I'll give you just kind of a quick overview, and then if you have any follow-up questions, give you my contact information. I'm always happy to meet with anybody, phone call, in person, whatever, I'm around all the time. So, so one of the things we do, we run Hudson Roots, which is an emergency rental assistance program. So the city funds through a housing trust fund that's run by, it goes through Greater Hudson Promise Neighborhoods. So in the past year, we've helped over 100 residents stay housed. We collaborate with other providers such as DSS or Catholic Charities to leverage funds where they're available. And then where they're not, we come in and usually work directly with the landlords to prevent evictions. And all the tenants are still housed from the past year. So it's been really successful. We also are wrapping up our first CDBG housing rehab grant. So that was a $500,000 grant we won. And we have been able to help 5 housing units, some of them, so it's 5 homeowners, some are rental units, but it's doing really critical health and safety repairs. They've been big projects. These projects are designed to, once you go into the house, you can help out with critical things. You don't have to go back and really get the house up in good shape. And it's for low-income homeowners that they are able to stay in the house and don't have to sell. And a lot of them, some of them are, you know, children live on the other side of the house, et cetera, and plan to pass it down. So these Hudson families like able to stay in the city. That is wrapping up. We're going to finish our projects this month, probably do some finishing touches in April. We're going to kind of debrief with all the team involved and then think about what we want to do next, because part of the council's role is thinking about what other housing grants we want to look for in the future. Those should come out in the summer. So I'll probably give a nice report after that's done, and we can think about if we want to pursue something similar to this after that. We have new development projects in the works. So this is scattered site housing project. Was with Kearney. That's what we put an RFP out for in 2021. The Mill Street site is currently under review for funding from the state. Super competitive. So we'll see how it goes, but if not, then we'll find other funding. And that site and the State Street site should be going for, hopefully on the planning board soon. Together, they would be about the Mill Street site 70 units of rental housing, and then State Street would be at 20 units. And then we also I'm heading up the comprehensive plan, the new comprehensive plan that we're doing. So if you were on the council last year, you know that we chose Public Works to be the consultant. We just started kicking off with kind of like internal meetings and steering committees. So they'll be coming to you all to present periodically at different check-in points. And also they'll be coming to you when we have community outreach events to get you guys to extend your networks, invites, get people to do surveys, come to events that we have as much participation as possible on that. I also am helping with the short-term rental compliance. So the treasurer's office handles the tax side of it. The council 2 BA sessions ago put in funds for a part-time admin assistant. So we hired Pete and Christina last year to be that part-time admin assistant. And basically it's been a lot of work to kind of figure out all the data for the past year about who's in compliance, who's not. Right now, the re-registration period. The platform we use is a little outdated, so we've had to go through a couple extra steps to get some of the information. Once we kind of get all the regular people registered, then we can look at who has not been in compliance for the past few years and then kind of work on communicating with them. And then other things I do, the Housing Trust Fund, that is, if you're not familiar, seeded with grant funds from Enterprise. We've had some city donations from the past few years from the BEA process. We're starting to look for more like bank or philanthropic donations. That's where my salary comes from. And so I give each CPA reports each month because that Housing Trust Fund is under them. The Housing Trust Fund has its own advisory committee. Their new meeting date is the second Wednesday of the month. We're not going to meet this month, but we'll meet next month. And all those minutes and everything is posted on the West City website. And then last few things, you all heard the pro-housing initiative from the governor. We have submitted our letter of intent. We are just waiting to kind of get into their software. But based off all of our housing we've been doing, we should automatically qualify to be a pro-housing community. That will give us preferred status with some of the grants. And let's see, I guess the last two things to mention. One of them is that my role is also kind of collaborating with a lot of other housing actors. So for example, serve on the county, the county has a task force and involved with other meetings and programs, and also working with other housing providers. So for example, working for years, but hopefully bringing Hudson River Housing into our area to provide more homeownership services within this year. And also looking at other groups. So for example, involved with the county's wellness hub project for homeless and shelter housing. And the last thing I'll mention is that if you're not familiar with community land trusts, it's the idea of a nonprofit owning land with home buyers owning the house on top of the land. And this keeps it more affordable. That was one of the items in our strategic housing action plan. We did a lot of thinking about could we pull that off in Hudson, and the thought process was that it'd be more successful as a county effort. So I worked with other players or like residents and some housing advocates around the county to create Trillium Community Land Trust. So it's a new nonprofit. We're developing our board right now. We've got a website, trilliumclt.org.
How do you spell that again?
Trillium, TRILLIUM, CLT.org. So we're building our board this spring and doing more community outreach events that hopefully we can get some more affordable home ownership and also promoting affordable rental. And we'll have more outreach events of that this coming year. So that's like a really quick overview. I tried to be short. Any questions?
Vicky.
Yeah.
Yes, so I spoke with other council members and constituents, and what do we need to both tenant renters and homeowners? And we all feel that there should be we need to have a plan of how much need of affordable housing we have in the city, how many units are incoming, including the Bliss Towers. And where are the people coming from? The new, let's say they create, 1,000 more units. Where are these people coming from? And the financing, is it gonna be, how many of these are pilots? I like to have like a chart of all this so we all understand. So I don't know if this is something that it can be a collaboration between you, the housing down by the Bliss Towers, the Hudson Dots, because that's now included in the housing, Hudson Dots, as the 9 units. And,
Seven
just have a
units.
clear picture of
Seven, nine families, 7 units.
with
Two of the units are 2 families. So I think it's
yeah,
seven.
7 houses,
Yeah.
9 units.
All right.
I was just talking about you.
Some of the answers in the strategic housing plan, which we approved before you were on the council. So some of the answers you're looking for are there, but
But
things have
probably
changed,
it's been
A lot has
updated.
changed. A lot has changed.
but not as much as you might think.
Yes,
Yeah.
so we'd like to have this, so in other words, it would be so much better for our work here in the council. When things come up, when we vote, we know the need, our vote meets the needs. I do think I'm in this business, and I know that definitely there isn't enough affordable housing. There is workforce, there's all these different distinctions, but you cannot find a place to live under 1,500
Right.
in Columbia County. It's not a lot of difference, because people say, oh, you just go to Greenport. There is not much difference there. And I know that the market so well. I see it every day. I know what's available. It's just, you can't find, it's hard.
Yeah.
But I think we all need to see the figures. And, it's important also to know where the new residents are going to be coming for. Are they transplants? I know a lot of people did move to Philmont during the pandemic, but, figures are the best way to see everything, so.
Yeah, I can definitely give you a bunch of data to answer those questions. I want to give it the caveat that there isn't. So some bigger cities, for example, like Austin says like, we need 2,000 housing units at this rent level or whatever. It's really hard to do in a city our size because things are so dynamic, and it's hard once you are this small, right? Statistical differences start to matter a lot more. And so I can give you like a snapshot of like, here's how I can give that data to you. I just want to put it with a caveat that's not magic numbers, that we definitely need 40 units at this, whatever, because also we're not saying if someone moves to Philmont, they're definitely gonna move back, here's their housing unit, right?
Yeah.
So I can give that like a rough idea for that. So basically you're asking about what's kind of in the pipeline, what are some of the like income levels is covering, what need do we currently see, and then also what are the different financing tools with them.
That's great.
Okay.
For example, there are a few, crosswinds, for example, that, apartment building. There's a waiting list, so that's another way to find out.
Yeah.
These waiting lists, obviously, these are people from our area that are
Yeah.
trying to get in.
Yeah.
Somebody from the Bronx is not gonna put their name there, so we have to just kind of ease ourselves and figure out that,
I
that's.
can give you, yeah, because I'm kind of portrayed.
Rich?
Yeah, similar to, the police and youth department, they would give a report with numbers. So for instance, if you say that, you dealt with X number of people and their landlords, every month or whatever, like how many, what are we talking about? Are we talking about 4? Are we talking about 40? Because that would give us a better idea about, like what the need really is. So, yeah.
Margaret?
Yeah, you may have mentioned it, I didn't catch it. What, the 2 houses that are being built for purchase, it was one of the 3 activities?
Yeah, I didn't mention it because we're doing more site planning and like pre-development, and we're not quite sure how much we could fit there and if the financing would work. The state funding is coming online is for a minimum of 4 units for home ownership. We can't fit 4. So I think we gotta do a little more thinking about, is that the right site, or is there something else we can do?
So the requirement was 4, and you were gonna do 2, and each one was gonna have a rental unit.
Yeah,
attached, right?
yeah, and that wouldn't fit the funding they have. It's the funding changes each year, but the project's got it.
On the community, I can't recall what state it's called, the pro-housing thing, where you have to be certified in order to qualify for certain grants. When did we put in our application for that?
I think it was probably 7 weeks ago. I checked in, they said it takes about that long to get
to get it into the system?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I sold 68 weeks, so we're right at that cost.
Rich,
So, okay, the comprehensive plan. So who is working on that right now?
Sure, so the Public Works, the consultant is doing the writing of a lot of it, but so Michael, Tom, myself, and the mayor, are kind of subbing in the data where they need on existing conditions. Margaret was on the, committee helping with choosing the consultant, and we're about to begin, kind of like broader meetings, so bringing in kind of based on the topic, and we have the existing conditions that should be coming up soon, so presenting that to like the council and some of the different department heads for their input, and the steering committee.
and the
I
steering
I
committee,
have requested to be on that group, by the way, I don't know if you know that, to be a member of the comprehensive planning group,
Mhm.
so I haven't heard anything.
Okay, yeah, we haven't done a lot yet. So,
we've established a steering committee though.
sorry.
We have established a steering committee.
And that four of you are the steering committee?
No, there's 12 people who are not involved in politics at all.
Yeah,
In fact, we reached out to, the idea was to reach out to a combined demographic of people who don't normally show up to these kinds of meetings, because we know all the people who will show up to everything. You're gonna show up to the public meetings. So we deliberately reached out to families, to the various, yeah, all kinds of people. Have we published the names? Yeah, I guess we could.
Yeah.
No, we really could.
Yeah, I don't think we have, we can, yeah.
Yeah,
So the plan is for what? On the comprehensive plan, that this group of consultants that we hired is meeting with a steering committee.
right. Then they bring it to the larger
They
community.
bring it to, and how often, like, they've met already?
Just once.
Oh, fine, okay, fine.
We have there's like a plan, there's like a schedule that says, here's what they're working on, here's the point when they come to like the council or the public, we can
Gotcha.
share that.
Yeah.
So that you all
sure.
have
Great.
the, you know what's going on and when.
Right. And the purpose of this comprehensive plan, Michael, help me out, so.
Last one was done in 2002.
I know, yeah, I
Okay.
wrote that one. So, but we need a comprehensive plan in order to apply for more grants, is that it?
Part of it, because the more that you identify, that helps you get going. The more that you identify needs,
Right.
then of course it helps you with grant applications. And then just, a vision of where we're going. And a big part of this is smart growth. How do we grow smart? Grow smartly in the future, rather than just letting things happen randomly the way they are sort of up to now.
Right, I mean, I know you asked the CAC for some, did we do your input for that?
Yes.
You put some input for the RFP when we were.
That's right, because there is, right, the
Right, we want,
Climate Smart has comprehensive plan.
exactly.
Yeah,
And sustainability will be a section in the plan.
right.
And then people thinking about like future land use, and then how does our current zoning reflect what we want it to
Oh,
be?
that's a big part.
Or do we want to, change? it?
This is our opportunity to revise our zoning.
It's a really good read, the 2002 plan. It's like looking at the past, trying to look at the future. Right, it was totally wrong. But yeah, so these comprehensive plans are great.
It can be.
They can be, maybe. Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay, any more questions for Michelle? Well, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
And we want that data in the future.
I love data. Yeah.
So on to our presentations. First up is, I believe, Nick Bira, reporting for fire. If he awake.
Afternoon. Make it quick. We had 26 calls for service in the month of February. 3 fires, 1 car accident, 3 carbon monoxide issues, 1 standby, 3 good intent calls, which we were dispatched to and then canceled, and 15 false alarms for a total of 26. And for the year, we are at 61 calls for service.
Questions from the council?
Are there a lot of like repeat offenders? Like, is that unique, those numbers, is that, or they're like a couple of people who were?
We have our normal go-tos.
Gotcha.
Rivertown.
Rivertown Lodge. However, it's the detectors doing their job. Whether it be steam from the shower or somebody vaping in the bathroom, it's not going off for no reason. It's because something is actually happening. They just go a lot. Rivertown's one of them. 202 Warren was, however, that building is now vacant. It was sold.
Basement next to the basement. Oh,
No,
okay.
202.
The garden thing.
Yeah, I believe they all moved to Fifth and Union. Everybody that was in those, in the apartments on the second and third floor. We've since been there a few times, but same thing. They're going off because they're doing their job. So,
By Fifth and Union, you mean the new apartments?
yeah, I think the tenants that were at 202 or 204 Warren were all moved, and that building, I believe, was sold. Or it's under new ownership,
Can't put,
if I'm told, given the information correctly. So, but other than that, everything's pretty good.
So the law or code that we passed a few months ago about false alarms, was that out there anywhere?
We haven't really looked at it as the fire department, but again, false alarm is malfunction or something. The alarms are going off because people are burning food, or it's sensing smoke, or, a lot of them, we get surprisingly a lot of steam from showers. So they're going off because of something.
right, they're not-
It's not that they're just, like years ago, we had an issue with the high rise where I think we went there 48 times in 1 month because their alarm system was just not working correctly. That's a false alarm. They've since got that fixed, and knock on wood, we haven't been down there for any false, non-emergency just because of a bad system. So, but that's
If I'm gonna get here.
Thank you very much.
no problem.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Nicholas. Youth Department.
Also happy. Hello, everyone. We'll just jump right in with programming. So February was a short month for us, short but fun. Over at the church, we increased the amount of art classes that they're having, and that's really going well. They have a new art teacher. So before it was every other week, now it's every week. They're doing a lot of fun projects. They get really excited to, bring them home and show them to everyone. They even did something before break that they then carried into after break. That was, if kids that are in the 5 to 7 age range, for them to be excited about something after a week is pretty impressive. So they've also learned a new game in circus, and they're really into when circus comes. Circus creates an atmosphere that's not just about learning and creativity, but they also do a lot of social emotional learning as well with the kids. And they really cling on to that, and they really enjoy when the circus team is there with them. And in March, we're continuing all the programming, but Beautiful Racket is coming back to work with our little ones on a dance routine, and a handful of them will get to participate in a performance at Hudson Hall next month, I believe, with Canfield Village Hudson is gonna be there. We're continuing with the Sylvia Center over at the Youth Center. They do amazing cooking classes with the kids. They teach knife safety, raw food prep, baking, and more. The kids always have something to eat and share at the end of class. They also learn, the other non-fun parts of cooking life skills, such as cleaning up their space, making sure the kitchen is all, taken care of, making sure the trash goes away. So all life skills that are necessary for preparing their own food. We're also really into tournaments this year so far. So we do like a knock hockey tournament or an air hockey tournament kind of every week. They get their picture up on the wall when they win. They're really excited about that. But we're really looking forward to the warmer weather that's coming so we can get back outside and, start having that fresh air again. And there's some pictures of team programming. The winter numbers have been low because of all the participation in basketball at the school, whether the teams are on the court or in the stands. It's been really important for them to be a part of this season. And recognizing this, our staff went to a few games to support them. We even took some of our regular programmers just to support with us. We went to some of the sectional games. And we really enjoyed being out in the community with our kids and not just being in the center, being out there and being a part of their outside lives too. Since the end of the season, we've actually had numbers increase for team programming. We had about 40 teams one night and averaging around 30 each night for the week. And we had a pizza party to welcome them back and to welcome the teams back as well. The boys went into sectionals and we got knocked out, but they played really well. So it's exciting for them to come back and get it. Summer camp registration, we're at about 50% capacity already, so we'll probably have to close down registration before May 31st cutoff dates. We have been doing outreach to our returning families to make sure that they're able to reserve a spot for their campers. We've been emailing, direct calling, offering support through forums. So if you know anyone who still needs to register and might need help registering, you can have them call us at the center or they can email us. Again, all the forms are digital, so we can help them access that and help them fill it out. And as a reminder, summer camp will be July 8th to August 16th, 9 to 3 down at Oakdale. And we're working on our program schedule now. And we hope to increase some of the opportunities from past years and add some new activities as well. Speaking of being out in the public, you can find us this month at the MCSES Report Card Conference Night. So that's the elementary school. It's on Wednesday, March 27th. We'll be there from 5:30 to 7:30 in the auditorium. We'll have some staff there. We'll have a few activities, but we'll also have registration for after-school programming and summer camp. So if people need help in person, they can come find us there. There's also a lot of really great other local and surrounding area organizations that come as well. They offer other summertime and out of school time programming. It's a really great opportunity to see what's available for the youth in the community. We wrapped up our YDBL program. We had a total of 162 kids register for YDBL by the end of the season. That includes 73 kids in skills and drills. We had 4 teams in both our 3rd and 4th grade and our 5th and 6th grade levels. They were named after New York State colleges as opposed to NBA teams as they were in previous years. And that was a recommendation from Joan Hunt, who's the executive director at Greater Hudson Promise Neighborhood. And that was to promote attainable goals for the kids, right? Most of them aren't going to grow up and play in the NBA, but a lot of them can go to college and play in their college basketball teams. The majority of our coaches and referees and volunteers are Hudson natives, and the coaches, we had coaches that were parents, community members, political figures, and community workers. Our referees, a lot of them were Hudson High School students. We even had the MVP of the Boys Platoon Conference Basketball League. Keith Robinson was one of our best refs. So it brings a lot together. And then the kids see Keith showing up outside of his varsity games there with them, and they feel really lucky and like they can be Keith one day too. So it's really cute. One of our biggest highlights this year was we got some adjustable basketball hoop attachments from Friends of Hudson Youth, so that you attach them to the hoop and then they're much lower, so that those kids that are 4, 5, and 6 that are just learning can actually make some shots. And then they want to come back because they can actually score. So it was really cool. It's something that the community's been asking for, and so it's nice to have it this year. So hopefully we can continue to grow and improve our program as we move into next season. And then the volunteers and our kids. So I put a lot of basketball into this, so.
So all these pictures, this all report is just this past month.
What was that?
All these pictures, all this entire report is just this past month.
I mean, some of the pictures might be from earlier in the season, but
Just curious.
yeah.
That's great.
Cool, so registration and attendance. And those photos were taken by, I can't remember his name. A local resident who works for Etsy. He volunteers. He does all of this for free. Peter.
God knows.
Yes, and he has like a little photography business.
Yeah.
And he does this for free. He comes in and takes those photos, and he did team photos as well for the kids, and we sent those out to the families. Registration and attendance numbers, we went up in registration for all of the age groups. Our daily average, I think, increased in the younger grades and the teens. Our average stayed about the same for the after school at the youth center for the 3rd to 8th grade, about 36 kids being served. at a daily average. And our meals and our snacks that we served this year increased, and every number of student service month increased from last month across the board. And that is, oh, I got one more thing. We're still doing seasonal employment opportunities. We've had a lot of camp counselors, sign up. So I think we've had about double the amount that we can actually hire apply to work with us this summer. And encourage some of them to become lifeguards, hopefully, bike shop mechanics. We also need a couple of bike shop mechanic apprentices. And then I'll also share some information with the other local organizations that are like Kite's Nest and other programs that will need some youth staff as well. So, but we still need lifeguards. We could still use a lead bike mechanic to help out our full-time bike mechanic. She does a lot of work by herself. So if you know anyone who's interested. And we'll be hiring for the seasonal labor at Oakdale soon as well. And then I just left this slide in for more information because I think that's helpful to keep easily accessible. And that is all I have for you.
Thank you, Liz. Questions from council members? Vicky?
So the art school, do you pay them like an independent contractor?
They have, they have all of their business, all their work is in, those paid through a monthly, no, quarterly invoice, I believe. That's what forms of that's new funds.
Okay, because what I was thinking is you're gonna be having the meeting, I don't know if you haven't already, with the Columbia County trying to get some money from that. But another thing they can add is any services coming from Columbia County, they can give them for free instead of us having to pay since it's their. Yeah, so that's another.
Yeah, and she's the woman Nancy who runs that art school. Columbia County is really open to work with that as
The
well.
question, the question of independent contractor. We had to go over that a couple of years ago because not everybody should be getting paid as an independent contractor. So if you have a legitimate business, you don't pay as an independent. No, you do get paid as an independent. And if you don't, then you get paid hourly, Yes.
Yeah.
We were not doing it.
Okay.
As you said, you need lifeguards, so is anyone candidates for the new classes coming up, I think next week and week after? Lifeguard class with ice training.
I think some kids that are taking that course that we're taking it anyway, we're gonna be offering another one in June. But I can reach out to the instructors there and let them know if any of those could be
Yeah.
for a job. Yeah, that'd be very good idea, thank you.
Ari has this.
Okay, Gary?
Thank you. Liz, thank you for the report. Can you speak about the impact of the clubhouse at 11 Warren Street being closed with those children that they were servicing?
I mean, I can't speak to it with any meaning really, because those kids, it's like they were going to the clubhouse with their own kind of vibe, you know, they're there for a reason. They go to the clubhouse and not the youth center. We haven't seen really, those kids showing up at the youth center instead. I just found a different location. They're probably going there. But for the most part, that group is so tight and so connected that they kind of travel together, and I'm sure they're all at their other side. But we haven't seen any increase in our programming. The kids that have returned, like our numbers went up because all of the kids that usually come just came back. So.
Thank you.
Gary, I talked to Kai Hillman this week, who I guess is the director of that program. And I can answer some questions for you if you have them.
Yeah, no, that's the only one I have right now, but thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have no idea. How are the two groups different? Just different spaces? Or
They're not
like different?
It's a different organization, different vision, totally different vision.
It's their agenda is really an anti-drug and cigarettes agenda, and it's like,
Is it different?
yeah, they're not funded or something.
Teams that,
Yeah, and it's like a smaller, more close-knit kind of thing, like ours is more of a drop-in, hang out, you come with a group of friends, but a different group of friends, like, that is a really like, very close-knit, yeah.
Liz, how about the summer program? The registration for summer program, is there any like, Hudson resident get more priority than other town?
Yes, so, prioritize Hudson residents and return campers. And that's why we reach out to the Hudson residents and the return campers. And if we reach out to them for, 2 months and they don't sign up and the other place, the remaining spots get filled up with people that are registering, it's hard for us to hold those spots. That's why we haven't actually fully released the registration publicly, although some people have gotten it. We've only so far sent it to families from the youth center and families who were registered for camp last year. And we're still reaching out, but
Can you
We're gonna have to
do
release
like,
it.
is this possible, like, can you do the Hudson resident first? Then, then after that, certain time of period, just do the Hudson first. Then after that, do the outside, and then the Hudson resident.
it's hard with a digital application because once someone gets it, they just kind of share it. But just because you've applied doesn't mean that you get in. So we have the registration open until May 31st. We'll close it down and then we'll evaluate who's applied. Didn't 5 of our families that come every year just miss for some reason? We'll reach out to them before we confirm with anyone else. So we can't limit who applies, but we can say who, we're gonna accept.
So you process them once they're all in, you process them or?
Yeah. We process them, because we use the Google Forms, so it outlines all of that data that we're looking at to see like, if you return, they can say yes or no. Do you live in Hudson? Yes or no? Like we can go through and filter it out by all that information.
Any other questions from council members? Public? Okay, thank you then.
Thanks.
Thanks, Liz.
I see Nia is online.
Hello.
Nia? Hi,
Hi. Can you hear me?
yes, we can.
Okay. Hi. Good evening. So far, we still have the same aerobics classes with Lynn, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. They're still inside at the senior center, which is at 51 North 5th Street. However, her classes will be moving outside as they do every year, starting May 1st to November 1st. Then we still have Ed Zoom Yoga Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, and the link is on the website, which is our calendar on the City of Hudson website. Becky will be coming back for Alexandria Technique, which everyone is excited about, starting tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. on Tuesdays until 12:45. If anyone has any questions, they can contact us at 518-828-3200. And then also, I'm head of home delivery at Rolling Grocer. For those folks that don't know, we service a lot of our seniors. So if anyone's interested still in home delivery for Rolling Grocer, just give us a call. I'm at 518-697-7676, or you could just go to the rollinggrocer.org website. And that's about it that I have for you tonight.
Thank you. Questions from the council? Anyone? Non-council? Public?
Hey, Mia, it's Lloyd. How you doing? Hi.
It's your friend Lloyd.
I'm just curious, how did you run into Becky? How did I run into her? Yeah, how did we come to be blessed with her wonderful program? Oh, we met her. She came to us over like about 1.5 years ago. And I saw her at the senior center, and we just connected through there. And I think we actually was referred her at one point, but we've loved her ever since. And you see she has a big fanship, so we got her back earlier than we anticipated. First, we thought we would have to wait till May, but I had a conversation with her and told her how much everyone loved her. So she'll be back starting tomorrow. So I know everyone's excited about that. Absolutely. Yeah, we're all very happy with that.
Okay.
On another subject, I want to thank you for responding to my email on Friday so quickly with the details that you provided. Now, I said I didn't get all the answers to my question, so I sent you another email. I would appreciate it if you could follow up and provide specifically the answers to the question number 1 and question number 2 that I asked you specifically. And I'm sure you can appreciate my concern. So if you could answer those 2 questions in the email I sent you this morning, that would be well appreciated.
Okay, thank you, Lloyd. And thank you, Nia.
Thank you.
Moving on to the police report. Chief Franklin. I hope you also talk about the resolution we have
I do, some people are gonna have some questions on that, so I'm prepared to answer any
Okay,
questions if
great.
you have any. The best that I can anyway. So for the body cam reports for February, nothing indicated any training needs for officers. And for our monthly report, use of force incidents were 0, number of arrests were 20, and then for 40 total charges. Number of emotionally disturbed person calls were 10. Number of calls involving a drug overdose or suspected drug overdose were 0. So I think that's good for us. Usually we have at least one.
Yeah, but those like same person,
Sometimes. Usually 2 or 3 of them might involve the same person or persons. But that being said, HPD, we are directly involved in mental health court now that is in Hudson City Court, so we're part of that, that team right now as well to try to figure some alternatives and for help for the public and the community. There were unfortunately, 2 accidents involving pedestrians in the month of February. One on State Street and Green Street, person was in the crosswalk. And a person was turning, I believe it was Green Street to State Street or State Street to Green Street. Was in the crosswalk. The operator said the glare made them not see the person in the crosswalk and ended up hitting that person. He went to the hospital for evaluation, but everything seemed fine. Second one was at Second and State. Someone was on a bicycle coming out of Long Alley onto State Street and then subsequently hit by an operator on Second Street. Fine, complained of some pain, but refused medical attention and was also okay. There was no crosswalk there. Let's see, a couple things to talk about. I will get to the dog resolution. Next month, HPD has reaccreditation coming up. So for those of you who are not familiar with accreditation, it's a New York State program, and law enforcement agencies opt into this program. It's not required by New York State. It is optional. We've been accredited since 1999. And what New York State does is set standards for policies and procedures for administration, operations, and training. And then what they do is every 5 years, they come down and assess that we have files based on their book of standards, which is, Lieutenant Miller, how many is it? It's probably over 100 different standards. Some are critical to pass accreditation, and it just shows that we either meet those criteria for the standards or exceed them. And again, we've been accredited since 1999, and next month is our reaccreditation period for the next 5 years. We did have a recent like mini assessment of some files, and we passed that, no problem. So therapy dogs. Does anybody have any questions? Because we have the resolution for tonight.
And I circulated your information a week ago, so you've had plenty of time to read it.
The resolution about the dog.
Done, yeah.
Yes, the proposal of the.
Yes, I think it's a great idea. The only things I need to know is, who is going to be covering the vet bills?
Mhm.
And also, you mentioned something about that SUV, special SUV.
Mhm.
Like, do we need to
So
buy a
current-
new SUV or?
So currently, the idea is because we got a new vehicle, we're gonna use a current vehicle that we have to outfit it. It shouldn't cost any more than outfitting a vehicle if we were to acquire one now. And again, we have grant funding to cover any additional costs that may have that. We have 2 grants right now that have been approved to cover some of those acquisition costs, vet bills, with about $57,000 right now. That's set aside for this program. And hopefully one of them I can get an extension on to go into next year. So I don't think that we will need all of that for the remaining of 2024. And then there's also other grants that I'm hoping to get through the New York State DOJ for like officer wellness to enhance those programs because it can be used twofold for officer wellness and obviously community oriented policing as well. And then, did I answer every question?
Yes, so that money will be put on what, on escrow, on the side, and through the years if you need the money? How do you?
Yeah, I think the way the grant funding working, I would say Heather could probably speak more to that than I can. But it's earmarked for a certain period of time, and then if you don't use that money within that certain period of time, you can request an extension, or you would have to apply for a new grant if it's not used within a certain year.
Do you happen to know what's the period for this grant?
So the grant that we have to use the money by June, certain monies by June is for the community oriented policing grant that we had 2 years ago or 3 years ago with Greater Hudson Promise Neighborhood in the city. And they recently asked for an extension and a revamp of the program to be used for this specifically. As far as I know, that has to be used by June. And then the other grant that we have through DCJS is supposed to be used by December of this year.
Right, thank you.
Other questions?
I just got a quick question. I'm curious about the canines. How do you guys like choose the canines?
That's
Like,
the
do they go
canine.
through like,
That's the canine, that's not canine.
Well, it's still considered canine because it's a dog. Yeah.
so I was just wondering, do you guys like, do they go through like extensive training, or like psychological to?
Yeah, so
to
in that-
enter to be a-
I have a copy of the proposal if you'd like to see it, but, what happens is if we acquire a dog, right now, we acquired a dog that someone surrendered, unfortunately, that we're going to try to use for this program. Someone had to surrender it. It was in a home with 4 kids, one with, autism, loves people, loves kids, is currently in a home with kids now. And then what happens is before they can even be used for this program or put in service, they have to go through Canine Good Citizen, get a temperament test, go through training, obedience, and kind of what it is, different scenarios that they would be around and be in before that even happened. And currently, we were approved to go to Florida, to bring a dog to Florida. We can either bring a dog to Florida, do a specific training for law enforcement and victims, children victims of crimes for the dog, to be trained in that scenario or certain scenarios like that. And then we get the blessing from them, and then Canine Good Citizen test is also done there as well.
All right.
Can you just, give us a sense of, when a dog retires, a dog comes over? The process.
If it's an extensive illness, we would most likely retire that dog, and whoever the dog's handler is would likely adopt them and take them home. And no cost to the city.
What would be an example of using in the past, like, let's say in the past year or so, whenever, that you would say, oh, this would have been a good place, a good example where if we had a therapy dog here, this would have helped.
I think the most recent example, at least from a law enforcement perspective, was when we lost Sergeant Philly. Even though the dog that we have right now, or someone has right now who's on the force, even though that dog wasn't in service, he was allowed to bring that dog to the station, and to the funeral home when we were there. And just having the dog there, even though it wasn't really trained for anything, just provided some comfort to people. But what really brought this on were discussions with Joan Hunt and Greater Hudson Promise Neighborhood, and using it for our current policy of safeguarding children of arrested parents, so that if there was a case of trauma of a child victim, that whether it's an interview or in the home, and felt the need to bring in a dog for comfort, to maybe get the child to be more comfortable speaking or break them out of their shell. Like, that's really the intended purpose, to be able to have that for them.
I think most recently, what happened last night is connected. It would be very therapeutic to have a dog like that. With the tragedy with the baby. I think everyone involved, I think would.
Not here.
No,
It's connected.
it's connected. But if that's happened, a scenario like that, I think a dog like that would be very valuable.
I think so. And that's really the goal, right? We want to build community relationship with with the police department and build on trust and transparency. And I think like as a city and as a community, we want to foster those relationships. And I think that will just help bring that, bring it all together.
Thank you, Chief. Anybody else? Oh, Gary has his hand up. Gary?
Yes, thank you, Chief. I think this is a wonderful idea and wonderful program. Moving past this year, 2025, 2026, do you envision that we will continue to receive grants to fund this? Or is this something that you'll be coming to us and asking for an annual budget? And what would that be?
My goal is to get grant funding to maintain and to enhance this program. And hopefully that I can. I think there's a lot out there that I can use for this. My hope is that if I have to ask the city and all of you for money to help continue this program, that I can just have some data that shows that it's positive and it's worth it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Anybody else? Anybody from the public? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as you recall, last up, because Heather will not be giving a report because she'll not be doing that at the Finance Committee. So we will hear from Rob Perry. And I know he's on the computer.
All right, screen over window tab. And see if I can get this done. Window share. Bingo. All right, so septage for January was 31,500. Not atypical for January, really. Last month we put the bill bipartisan infrastructure grant before you with a bond resolution, and it was approved. Thank you very much. So as we keep the progress moving forward, you'll see two resolutions for next week. One will be a seeker resolution, which we incorporated into the bond resolution, but EFC, who is the financing entity, wants these resolutions separate, so it will be kind of a do-over. And there's another one authorizing the mayor to execute contracts with EFC. So those will be forthcoming. As far as the operations of the plant, we've had, there was a grinder that used to be down at the South Front Street pump station that was there when we originally constructed it in 2010, and it failed sometime around 2017, 18, and we kind of went without it. We weren't sure how necessary it was. Obviously, over the last couple of years, we figured out that it is pretty necessary, and the south side seems to still have a lot of large objects, bricks and blocks that have been damaging the pumps. So we have ordered. We expect it to be delivered within the next week and then installed later in this month. As far as water, more internal stuff. This is the time of year when we do that. So this is one of our guys. He's switching out ballast, and we're switching the lights inside from the T6 to full LED lights, and more filter maintenance. So you can see the difference. The stain is from the permanganate, which is the oxidant that we inject out in Churchtown. And this is obviously with it cleaned off. And just speaking of Churchtown, we do have strong winds today. We weren't aware of any outages in Hudson. However, our chemical feed building in Churchtown's been running on generator for most of the afternoon. It's not really cause for concern, as it can run for many days on generator power, and we would just fill up the propane tank, so it's all good. The annual quality report is on the website and the DPW page for 2023. There were no issues as expected. Let's see. As far as the lead service line, we had last month, I described that there were 60 responses. And in the last month, we've had 100 additional responses. So we do appreciate that. All we're looking for, we do have access to the tap book and other records, and we are culling through those records. We're just asking that people just go and try and do a visual assessment, a physical assessment of what's actually in their house. It just makes it easier, because if there's lead in the house, then we just consider the rest of it lead, and EPA considers it all lead, and we can just check it off and go on to the next connection. Let's see, new plants. We do have a, we had generator inspected for the water treatment plant, and that was, it's doing well, but there's an operations panel that's original, which is almost 20 years old, and it's just kind of outdated. So we did get a quote for a new control panel, which is $33,000, and we'll see where we are with the budget this year and go from there. Down at the garage, we had some issues with the getting backups down. The water wasn't draining properly, so the pipe was clogged. It's original. The garage was constructed in 1967. So all we did was we hammered it out, saw cut, hammered it, cleaned it all out, which you'll see here in 4. This put the wood in there to form it out, and the concrete got poured on the left and right sides of that wood form. We put some rebar in there and then installed a grate on top of it. So it's a nice little project. It's just something to help, without having standing water in the garage, especially considering the roof leaks. But the good news is the roof only leaks when it rains. So the other inside projects, garbage can, just sanding it down, finishing it, little coats of poly, getting it all dressed up. Well, we did purchase lumber, and we've constructed, I think, 4 or 5 new picnic tables. So, these can go Waterfront Park or somewhere else if somebody's got a special request for it. They, they're in the process of staining them here. You can see this one's got a couple coats. This one's on the first coat. All right. So to City Hall, we have, this is the final product. The asbestos is all gone. The fiberglass insulation has been installed, so that contract is complete. We did have to go through air monitoring through the process, and so this is the results. You can see here it's less than 0.002 fibers per cubic centimeter, so that's basically that's below the threshold that is the detect, and it's all clear. So since that work is now done and clear, our crew have been in there. There's been a little bit of a honeydew list from some of the various departments. So the fresh coats of paint, this is the treasurer's office, as well as color changes, the DPW office. The floor was pretty well damaged for one of the staff downstairs bathrooms. So we ripped out the fixtures and put that's Lou on there, put down a new floor. So this is the new bathroom, and it's also with new paint. So that's all cleaned up and fresh and ready to go. This is what the tile looked upstairs in the DPW office. We had Mike Weaver, who does work for the fire department. He's got some equipment and some fancy stuff. So he came over, and this is the after product. So it's he got rid of all the scuff and scum and cleaned it up. Looks very nice. He's working on the new tiles downstairs, and that should be finished hopefully tomorrow, Wednesday at the latest. So as far as the internal preparedness of the building, that's complete, essentially complete. Let's see, Ferry Street Bridge. So we've got a lot of tree work taking place, and that's because National Grid has to relocate 3 utility poles, and the trees were in the way. So it's quite a bit of coordination because the trees actually hang over the track, which means the Amtrak has to have flaggers there. And so when the train comes near the station, they have to stop work. They can't put the trains or anything in jeopardy, and those guys are down there to inspect it after the train leaves. So it does, it's a bit of a ballet for sure. This is the tree that was closest to the corner of Ferry Street and South Front Street. There's got to be a utility pole put next to that stump. The cemetery office, while we've been doing internal work, so this is Gene's office, and you can see some new coats of paint there. Also doing some tree work. This is basically limbs that are dead and dangly, and cut them, drop them, and right into the chipper they go. Also, I'm probably going to look at an archives grant. We did this a couple of years ago, and we couldn't make it work. But we just have so many. These are original documents, and there's more pictures of. And there's just they get used, even though some of the documents are decades old and maybe over a century old. Because if somebody purchased a plot in 1885 and there's a family member that has the deed and there's a plot available, then they have the legal right to be interred there. So these records have to be maintained in perpetuity, but we'd like to, image them and use replicas and not use the original ones, because some of these are actually linen and different types of material. So that's something we'll be looking at later on this year. And that is it for me.
Question from council members. Margaret?
Yeah, Rob, I was just wondering if you have any status update on the water line or the sewer that's on Union Street that runs under one of the houses in the 400 block. Is there any update on that?
Sure. So survey was completed by Crawford back in December or mid-January. From that point, we submitted a 90% detailed designs to DEC to review. So they've had the plans for a number of weeks now, maybe 2 weeks. While they're conducting their independent review, there's a couple of, you'll see us with excavating over by Christ Church. There's a couple of utilities that we need to identify so that there's no conflicts. We've identified where one of the old force main is that used to pump river water up. And then there's another one that says, there's something that comes out of Christ Church, kind of another sluiceway, if you will. And so we just need to get the meets and bounds for that.
So I did have a question. I think you answered this. There were markings on Union Street, and one of my neighbors asked me whether or not that was going to be excavated. And you said that they were there just to map out the actual path of the sluiceway. So are you anticipating that you'll be digging that up or not?
Well, we're going to be installing a new sewer main, and that's going in the road. All the work will take place in the road, except for around Christ Church. We're going to have to shortcut it inside their sidewalk to make the elevations because we require gravity. But, there might be some work in the sidewalk here and there, but most of it's going to take place out in the street.
Okay, so the long-term plan then is to put a whole new sewer main down in the middle of the street. Is that it?
I think that's the way.
Yeah,
That's
it.
That's the plan, but you're waiting for DEC to review the plan, right?
Correct.
Other questions? Council members? Yeah. Public? Anyone? Okay, thank you, Rob.
You're welcome. Night.
Now, moving forward, we have a presentation related to one of our resolutions. Kelly Crimmins from Big Towel Spa is here to talk about her latest proposal.
Hi, everyone. I need my presentation before I get to forget how it's done.
And we did update what's on the
great,
website,
okay.
what you sent.
I mean, most of you know me, but I'm still gonna introduce myself because some of you might.
And I sent this to everybody too.
Oh, great, okay. Well, I'm Kelly Crimmins. I'm the owner and operator of Big Towel Spa. You probably know me from my former job, which I no longer work at, which is Hudson Docks, which I know you guys are familiar with too. But I haven't worked there since December 2023, but this has become my new project. That's my personal project, which is called Big Towel Spa. We are a pop-up sauna business that has 2 wood-fired saunas. And our first premier residency has been at Oakdale Lake this past, starting in October until our licensing agreement ends in March. And I'm here today to ask for you guys to grant me a licensing agreement for the waterfront park, but also discuss coming back to Oakdale starting in September. So we would take a summer break, and I'll go through sort of how it's been going, what I see for the waterfront. Right now, I just want to go over that we have 2 wood-fired saunas. Our current hours are Friday through Monday, 8 a.m. That's wrong, sorry, to 6 p.m. And it's 6 people in each sauna. For those of you who weren't here before, everything had been approved through Craig, Liz, and so has this also been shown to Liz and Michael. So we've been in communication about what you guys are seeing. I just want to show you guys some photos if you haven't seen it. This is one of our saunas. The other building, that's our dressing room for people to be able to change and store their things, because we offer both private and public hours. So I feel like, I hope some of the public is watching, because like, no, they're not houses. They're saunas. And so they look like from the view, I feel like people think they look like little houses. The next photo just shows that, like, and I'll go over this again, but both of the saunas have ramps, so they are ADA in that way. And one of them has a door wide enough to accept a wheelchair, and the bench can come out if a wheelchair were needed. And I actually I haven't had a wheelchair, but I have had people like who need the ramp, and it's been working really well. So I haven't actually checked this. I wrote this for you guys in February, but it got really busy, so I didn't get to talk to you till March. But when I checked in February, the saunas have been visited by over 1,000 people, according to my website, since October 2023. So I think a lot more have come since then, but it's pretty cool. The public day is frequently sold out, which happens on Monday. So actually, I'm asking for an additional day in the upcoming season, because so many people haven't been able to get in, or it's sold out and I can't get them in because of capacity issues. We also do what we call our community sweat fund, which we've had donors to provide access to the saunas. Like if somebody's having a financial issue or having financial hardship during the time, they can reach out to us for a discounted rate. And using those promo codes, we've had 25 plus visits from different people that weren't able maybe to afford our rates, but were able to get into the sauna. And in general, I guess I just can't say enough how positive it's been. Everybody that comes has a great time. Is like, I can't believe this is here. Why isn't this everywhere? Will you come do it in my town? Are you coming back? So it's a lot, and it's been really cool. We also just recently I got to, the plunge happened and they were there, and we collaborated with the fire department and that's news department to use it as a fundraising initiative, which I think we should do even more of, where if you raise over $1,000, you had access to the saunas after the plunge. And I think we had 3 individual plungers that did make that. And I think more people would do it if we had a little bit more time. We didn't really promote it as heavily as I wish I had. I'm not gonna read you guys the testimonials, you can, but I got a bunch of different people talking about why it was really great. And how my regulars, and there are some letters today, I think, too. So let's talk about the riverfront, which would just be an 8-week residency, really not as long as Oakdale, because I know the waterfront gets really active after May. So this is really just our spring, and then we would shut down. We would do Friday through Monday. I'm asking for a little bit of a longer time period because the light has extended. So it's people want to be there. I also do get complaints sometimes that they wish it was open after working hours, because some people can't come during the non-working hours. So I'm do the same sort of iteration, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are private bookings up to 6 people in each sauna, and Monday is our public sauna. And then this is the schematic based off of the, I cut off a little bit, but these would be where the saunas would go, which is right next to where the ferry dock is. And then we would have the dressing room by the gazebo and wood storage by the back fence. And at the waterfront, we would have a small trough of cold water so people could go in that, because we do buckets, we'll also have buckets, but I think it would be cool to try the trough if that's, I don't know, yeah. And then this is for this coming fall, to come back to Oakdale, working with Liz. It would be after the beach is closed, everything would be, so the season would be done. We would come back on. I would like to add Tuesday as an additional public day to meet the demand. And so it would be the public sauna would be Monday, Tuesday, because I find those days to be mostly locals and people who work in the service industry, and Monday, Tuesday is sleepy in our town, we all know that, so. And then some key differences is that I'd like to explore the possibility of big towel paying for electricity to be put on an outdoor outlet on the beach house or to have access to electricity somehow with the youth center. I've spoken to Liz about this. Just because it's been hard for me and my staff, because of the amount of people that have been there, the small dressing room that we have, like, it's hard for us to be in there and have people changing and to be able to stay warm because we don't have access to the beach house during the winter hours. So we would just want a way to heat the dressing room more efficiently, I think. And if for some reason the electricity didn't work out, we would probably put an additional like wood stove or end up getting a generator. But I do feel like I want to be conscious of the neighbors and I'd rather not run a generator personally, and then we're hoping that we can offer a little bit later hours because with the electricity, we would be able to have more lighting down there. And that has been a big ask from the public is like just, especially on the public days, to be able to have post working hours so people can enjoy the saunas. And with that would come, I'm gonna try to make the dressing room larger to accommodate all of the people, which I'll show you on the schematics, which is the next slide. So this, I would get a slightly longer trailer that wouldn't block the entryway to the beach or even the aisle for the plunge. If that happens, it would just be slightly longer than the current 8x10. I think that's okay.
Is that the white block?
That's the white block, yeah. And so these are the saunas, which are where they are. I think that I would put them in the same place, maybe slightly more angled, one of them, just because it's been a little bit awkward, but it's been working fine.
So if you have after dark extended and you put in lighting, do you anticipate problems with neighbors or? I think the lighting would have.
I would do a timer, timed lighting, so it would go off after we close. So it'd only be for like the dark, really just for the months like November to February.
Right, but it would have to be a kind of lighting that just goes straight down, right?
Yes,
I mean, it
yeah.
couldn't be.
Yeah, or I would get the ones that are like deemed like black sky lighting that are like not light pollution. I forget the term. There's a term.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dark sky.
Yeah.
Council members. Vicky.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a successful program. I mean, I say it myself. But although you do have the waiver that says people cannot go in the water, I do see people going in the water all the time. And that is a liability for the city. It's also hard, the youth department is kind of overlooking so it's kind of hard for them too, but it also gives the wrong message for children that they saying they can go, people go in without a lifeguard, why we can't. So I really feel we need to make a point of supervising this and really having some rules so people may have to go if they do go.
Yeah. We have them all sign a waiver and we tell them verbally. I mean, it's hard to like physically pull someone out of the water each time. I mean, I think that's been the agreement with the city is that, they're taking on their own liability. This is like a city, it's also a city issue as well with that body of water.
Well, no, it's not because the water is closed and we don't have a lifeguard at that time. I mean, you're responsible at that time there. We cannot hire now somebody, a lifeguard or a police to supervise this. This is, it was.
But I guess I'm saying, I have them sign a waiver, I sign it, I verbally say it to them. There's not, besides calling the police department on every single person, I'm not really sure what more enforcement we can do.
I think if you call on
One at a time.
I think if you call on 2 people, the third person's not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Or, I'm
One
sorry.
at a time. Oh,
I was just thinking when you were saying, what would I be able to do? How about if they can forfeit if that's the people that are going in the water that are using the sauna, they can forfeit their money or whatever, the fee, I'm not sure, but maybe some way, if you go in the water, you sign this waiver, and if you go in the water, then you're gonna get charged double, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah,
Well, also,
Or they.
yeah, you're gonna have a trough down by the riverfront.
right, yeah.
And the whole point too is people go into the sauna, then they want then dump into a cold pool and go back into the sauna. So if there's a trough by the riverfront, could there be a trough by Oakdale? as well?
Totally, we can try that. I think the first season, we put out buckets and I just didn't wanna overdo with water. Or I was like trying to figure out the best water management, cause then those have to be drained. So I'd wanna ask Liz the best place to put that. But yeah, we can definitely do that next season to not encourage people to go in the lake. I mean, I just wanna say on record that my staff and I'm not encouraging people to go.
No, I know you're not, but you also are responsible for enforcing the rule. So I have to make this clear.
Yeah.
We cannot afford to you have a liability.
Of course, yeah.
Margaret, and then Jeff. Margaret?
Okay, yeah, so if you have a rule that, and Rich is right, that when you take a sauna, part of it is that you get a cold water and then you go back. If you have a rule that you cannot go underwater, and I violate the rule, you can ask me to leave and tell me I can't come back.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
And you just do it once or twice and people get it, it's being enforced.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer?
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
But I was also gonna add to that you could just put a couple of stakes in the ground and then put a rope or something.
Yeah, I'd have to talk with Liz about adding that.
Yeah.
Dominic?
Yeah, so, with you reaching out, you saying, especially down to the waterfront, you're looking at more time. Have you reached out to the senior center to see if they would be interested in what would work for them, for seniors to come down and use this? Because I think it could be very valuable.
Not yet, but that's a great idea. I can, for sure.
And when you say troughs, so the troughs, they're emptied every day?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, and just to reiterate, yeah, I know Vicky got phone calls and I've got phone calls from, for people going in to the water. I mean, realistically, they're violating, they're violating crime. So, if that, it's gonna reflect partially on your business if it's not enforced, because it's gonna go bad. Something's gonna happen.
Right.
And it's not gonna be good. So I think emphasizing to your clientele, say, listen, you will forfeit your won't be able to come back basically if you're caught, in the water. It's just something that needs to be emphasized.
Gary, you have your hand up?
I do. Thank you, Tom. A couple of points. One is, enforcement is one issue and we're not responsible for that. But I'm assuming that the certificates of liability are in place, that the city is not liable if someone jumps into the water afterwards and some mishap takes place. Am I assuming correctly?
No, I think we're always.
Let's have Crystal comment on this.
So there's definitely indemnification and liability provisions that were in the original license agreement. I would say that before we renew the license agreement, I'm going to take another look at that though, to make sure it's specifically addressing the water issue that I don't know that we were discussing all that much when the first license came up. So that's something that I'm going to be looking at this time around.
Thank you.
I know, and I can send.
Another
I
point.
Go ahead, Gary.
The other point would be, and Trupp, I think a cold water shower would be great, and that's basically what traditionalists love, a nice, quick, cold shower. We don't have to worry about standing water and so forth. And the final point is, I have personally a problem with the locations of the saunas down by the river. Where you're suggesting, I understand the location to the gazebo and to the dock, but it's a tight spot, and that's about as prime a spot down by the riverfront you're going to find. And that's just blocking a view that I personally find very desirable. And I think it would make things tight. I know that the senior citizens do aerobics down right where you're looking to set up, and that can block traffic as it is. But I have a problem with your location. I think there's plenty of spaces, and I think the closer we get to the river, the more tempting it will be for some folks to jump into the river, and that's dangerous. So
thank you, Gary. Mark?
So I just wanted to make a suggestion. It's like part of the nature, the cold shower thing is a good idea, but
Yeah.
part of the nature of saunas is that, you know, they're lakeside, whatever, and you jump in the water and you get back in the sauna. That is part of the cost. Given that that may be a fact and you may have trouble enforcing it, maybe a model to consider is hiring a lifeguard. So that you make as part of your agreement that you're responsible for this and you're going to pay to have a lifeguard and that's part of the building service. If you can't, you know, you
Yeah.
can't beat it.
Yeah, no, I've definitely explored that. I think I'm not 100%, I can't say this, but from talking with Liz and other people, it's actually an issue with Columbia County Public Health and their requirements of that body of water to even have a lifeguard, which require like lanes or like the swimming area, and it's all this extra stuff to get a bathing permit, which is why we've tried to just do as much as we can to enforce, offer buckets, offer alternatives. I think the trough idea is a good idea. I also can send in a copy, which I'm not sure if I did, the liability document that everyone signs every single time they come. It doesn't matter if they've come before. That literally says like, I will not go in the water and it is my response, you know, that my lawyer has made up. So I can share that with you guys when we do the license.
Right, but
Again.
if they're still not abiding by it, that's the problem to solve. So they're not abiding by it, so you either find a way to ban somebody who doesn't abide or.
I was more so saying in terms of the legal liability stuff,
I'm
like,
thinking of it in terms of practical terms. If you can't stop them from doing it, then find a way to make it part of it and put in a lifeguard.
yeah.
I think the standing cold shower is a very good idea. Because
Yeah,
it achieves-
if we can figure out a way for water to be running during really cold temperatures, but it's possible, you know.
You know what, I'm sorry, but just to take a step back, so there's public and private days, so how does it work in a nutshell? Like, anyone can just go sign up, or what's the?
All the reservations are made on our website, so like when you come, it's always supervised when you're checked in. And so you make your reservation online.
And there's always someone there.
There's always someone there if it's open, and they're locked otherwise. Everything's locked and put away otherwise.
Kelly, one of the things about the heat, what about propane heat? My campfire, propane heat. Well, I'm using
We
propane.
could look into that for sure. Yeah,
It's more controlled. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Any
thank you,
other
Kelly.
questions? Thank you all. Thanks, Kelly.
Just one quick question. Do you consider, Thursday and Monday, other than Monday and Tuesday?
No.
Quick answer. There's a quick answer.
Okay, let's get to resolutions. I got you.
Yeah, I give you a second.
Okay. First resolution. Planning Commissioner deeds, can I have an introduction in a second? I'll give him my second. Go on, second? All right. The next resolution authorizes a budget amendment for the purchase of 4 iPads for common council members. Introduction second. Go on, Tricia.
Question about that?
Sure.
So at the end of our term, we were supposed to return the iPads.
Yes, definitely.
Is it an option to buy them?
We can support that. Third resolution. Approving agreement with the town of Greenport. Provide court security services.
I have a question about this.
Yeah,
I just.
Mashonda talked about this, the chief talked about this at a previous meeting. I don't know if you remember.
So this agreement is that Greenport provides, that we provide service to Greenport, is the. Correct?
Excuse me?
We're providing service to Greenport and Greenport is reimbursing.
Correct.
That's all I want.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we do it every year.
Yeah, introduction in a second. Go on and up.
That's fine.
The next resolution is accepting senior center donations of $1,050 from.
Who's second this one? Who's second this?
Either there's one.
Introduction in a second. The, the next resolution. Oh, sorry. Is to support, recommendation that Josh Cohen be appointed to the Board of Supervisors to represent the city of Hudson in the Columbia County Climate Smart Task Force.
Yeah, Josh is great, by the way. Josh is great. So
Okay, great guy.
Thank you.
I introduced for the great guy.
Okay, any other second? You guys are just too much. Should take this out down the road. The next resolution. Oh, this is the resolution to support the Chiefs Canine Program.
I do.
Margaret,
I'll
Alderman.
second.
Too late.
I love that.
You got it next week.
No action on our side.
And, oh, and,
Sorry,
You are.
I introduced.
and the last resolution, amend.
And with dogs on board.
Oh, and the last resolution is amendment to the budget to pay for the additional pavement markings on Paddock Place.
Paddock Place. So,
I guess I'll do.
I just have a question.
Yeah, oh boy.
2 seconds.
What part of Paddock Place is that? Is that all of Paddock Place?
No,
No,
So-
it's just where the kids walk.
So it's from Oakwood, you know, the intersection there,
I've lived there my entire life.
to the tennis courts.
Yeah.
Well, Paddock Place also goes.
No, no, I know, we're not doing that.
Not
But
doing anything there.
eventually we need sidewalks there.
Right, so what are we doing there now?
Just marking it.
I just.
No, we're not going home. She just said we're not.
No, we are going from Oakwood
Correct.
to the tennis courts.
Okay, so what are we
Right there.
doing from the tennis courts to the school right now?
Right now, we're not doing anything,
It's just that school.
That's cool, yeah.
because that is a study we did only for that part of Paddock. The second part of Paddock, what really needs is a sidewalk as soon as possible.
Oh, yeah.
So that's,
But
that's,
the school district does that.
but that's more complicated because we have to have,
Rich, can I, oh,
so that is more complicated
Right.
because we need the okay from the school. It's also a school property. We need to move the lights. There's a lot
We're gonna
of-
have to make that definite. This is me as a taxpayer, and I've lived there my entire life. Currently, and I've tried to address it with the school, and I've kind of just been put on the back burner. Currently at dismissal, that road is taken up by parked vehicles from 1:30, 1:45 in the afternoon until 2:30. And it makes it almost impassable for 2 lanes of traffic. My child walks home from that school every day. He has to walk in the grass, in the mud, in the snow.
Yeah.
The school has many other options on where to put those cars at the end of the day, not on Paddock Place. Those cars being on Paddock Place, I believe, is a city issue that I think maybe the council could put some fire under the school to try to come up with an alternative on where to put those cars.
Yeah.
It makes it very, if we're talking about being unsafe to walk and delineating, road, I agree with that. But I think that the council maybe, or the city, should put some pressure on the school to make changes to their pickup, vehicles, where they're parking cars. It makes it very difficult, not to mention residents, including myself, park vehicles on Paddock Place. They block the driveways. I have 2 emergency vehicles in my in my 2 driveways, and they block me in.
I
So
have the same problem.
it's,
When JL Edwards was in, they would do the same thing
Yeah,
in front
it's-
of my house.
they had, I personally suggested to the principal that they use the front parking lot. That was about a month ago, and I don't know where that's went. I think it's very doable, but, you know, until we can get sidewalks, which I think are a great idea. I think maybe some pressure on the school district to do something different at the end of the day for those vehicles, would be worthwhile, or at least to try.
So you're saying to go through the front, is there a way to enter and exit
Yes,
there?
yeah, what I suggested to them is they go in the entrance closest to Harry Howard on Paddock. They would go towards Crossman's, back to Paddock, and then in front of the school, and then go out Harry Howard. So on top of all the cars also being parked on Paddock, when all these cars go through the bus turnaround, they're putting them back on Paddock Place, go back up and back down the hill. They're not even letting cars go to Harry Howard. So we're creating a lot of traffic on Paddock Place just by when the school is let out. And again, it was my grandparents' house before it was my house, but I was there every day after school. It's where I grew up. So I've seen it, and this was never like that. Never.
Would it be possible to send me a diagram exactly what you just said? And
Yeah.
then maybe we can have a meeting with the school and try, I understand what you're saying makes a lot of sense. First of all, it will alleviate the traffic in paddocks. It will be a lot safer for pedestrians, bicycles, and everybody else. So, yeah, if you can just send it to me and
Yeah.
see what we get
And
there.
again, I'm not against like the road marking in one part of Paddock. I know.
Yeah, that is different.
I know there's been a lot of talk. There's been the stop sign, there's been
Yeah,
the road, I bring up the stop sign. That should not be there.
and once we
Period.
have the,
That's
once we
fine.
have, yeah, once we have the sidewalk committee, I think it's very important to talk about putting a sidewalk, continuing the sidewalk there. That's
Yeah.
very.
And again, like I just said, I think the stop sign that's now currently there, my belief, again, living there my entire life, that should not be a stop sign. There has never been an accident at that intersection with a pedestrian, a walker. I've maybe seen one, and that was during a snowstorm with a car actually coming the opposite direction, cut the corner short and caused a minor fender bender. That stop, with a stop sign at the bottom of that, and only because I sit there and I watch it, that is going to cause a bigger problem in the long run. You're gonna end up with more car accidents at that intersection by putting a stop sign up there.
Well, first of all, the engineers thought that the stop sign is imperative to have that. It's very important to have that. Second, the engineers that were looking the paddock. on the
I
house.
didn't read that. I read that in.
Then the second thing is that it's also a blind spot. If you're from down where the spots, where the stop sign is, you cannot, the visibility is not good. It's a downhill.
Right, but you have to slow down, going down the hill to make. the
Believe it or
turn
not, people
anyway.
don't slow down. I mean, I have been in that there. They don't. slow
So people don't, when that stop sign was up for 3 months, people don't stop for the stop sign because it's in the middle of a road. I don't know if you remember, a few years back, Greenport did the same thing up by the water tower on Jocelyn. They put a stop sign in the middle of a road.
I
that-
stopped at it.
No, I mean, it's hard, it's
But
hard.
you do, it's in the middle of a road, you have to make a turn. Listen, my kid's 10 years old, he sits in the window, and when I would come home from work, when the stop sign was up, he would laugh and tell me how many cars did not stop at the stop sign. And I literally said, dude, start counting the cars that actually stopped. You know how many cars stopped at the stop sign on an afternoon? One. Every other car that went by, you slow down to go around the turn. It makes that stop sign being there makes a false sense of security for people walking, for pedestrians, for other vehicles. In fact, the undersheriff almost got hit going to work one morning because of that stop sign. Because people think there's a stop sign on the other side.
Listen, we cannot explore if people will stop in a stop sign or not. I have seen people stopping the stop sign. Now we have an engineers that they said, yes, you do need the stop sign. And there is an absolute blind spot there. I mean, if you're walking up the hill, you need to have the car slowing down.
I can see if we've had traffic accidents and we've had issues at that intersection and we had data to back it up to put a stop sign there. We as a city have zero.
Well, we had the.
Besides an engineer that doesn't live there, that doesn't live in a city that you guys paid, we have zero data for traffic accidents, pedestrian accidents, or any of the above to actually back up putting a stop sign in the middle of a road, because that's technically what is being done. Paddock Place extends all the way to the turn that then becomes Jocelyn Boulevard.
We had an accident a year and a half ago where they actually, a car, hit the entire fence, came down by the tennis courts.
Yeah, there
And
wasn't,
so we
and you
had
know
a
where that
deadly
car came
accident
from?
down Paddock, huh?
You know where that car came from?
It doesn't matter.
It
We
came
had
from
an
the other direction. It came off of Jocelyn and missed a turn in a snowy night.
Well, we needed a stop sign for both sides, and what I'm saying is that helped, if we, now we have a stop sign. But,
Okay, all right, Gustavo, this year, first of all, we need, combination of, commissioner and DPW to, talk this through. But,
I think there should be more discussion on it.
yeah, no,
Just
there will,
arbitrarily throwing up another stop sign.
Which commissioner?
police commissioner. Yeah, I know it was on his agenda to respond to the commissioner. The commissioner was considering.
No, I just wanted to
Yeah, yeah.
clarify, because you said DPW.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I get you.
Commissioner.
Right, gotcha. Gary, did you have something you wanted to say? Your hands up?
No, I forgot to take it down, sorry.
Okay, there will be more discussion about that. In the meantime, any council members, anything else they'd like to add? Anyone from the public? Can't see hands. See. Public, anyone? No hands? With that, I await a motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.